NFL fans, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jay, host of the Jay All Day NFL show, former Bleacher Report writer turned YouTuber. We're closing in on 15,000 subscribers, guys. I really appreciate all your support. We're going to do our weekend mock draft. One round, all 32 teams. Let's get into it. All right, guys, if you take a look at your screen right here, we're going to break down all 32 first round picks. So make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really does help us get into the YouTube algorithm. For me, the Titans are going to go quarterback. Cam Ward looked really good at his pro day. He's making it a point to be like, if you don't draft me, you're going to regret it. Titans get their man. Will Levis goes to the bench. Now, the Browns have quite the quandary on their hands, right? What I'm thinking they do is bypass on Shedeur Sanders and then maybe move up from the second round into the first round to draft the quarterback. Maybe Shedeur, maybe Jackson Dart. If he's there, that could make some sense. But I don't know. I think they're going to go Travis Hunter, man. Like, he's a generational talent. I like Abdul Carter a lot. But the Browns talk about using him as a wide receiver, have some packages for him on defense, keep him healthy. I like Travis Hunter. We'll see how that body holds up at the NFL level. All right, now the Giants are on the board. This is another interesting spot. Do the Giants go quarterback Shedeur Sanders? I don't know, man. I just don't know if Shedeur Sanders' arm strength is going to play at the NFL level. He takes a lot of sacks. Is he worth the number 3 pick? I don't think he is. And I saw this on another mock draft that I watched earlier this past week. What if they draft Armand Membu from Missouri? They already have Andrew Thomas on the left side. Put Armand Membu on the right side, and all of a sudden, this offensive line could be a top 10 unit if they get some pieces in the interior offensive line, right? So Armand Membu goes to the Giants, surprises everyone at number 3. Now the Patriots are on the board, and they are sprinting to slam dunk it to Goodell. They're going to take Abdul Carter. I know they need other positions like offensive line, but Vrabel's the head coach. If they get Abdul Carter, they can make that defense the identity of this team. They have a lot of picks all over the place, right? So I think they're going to bypass on Will Campbell, who's kind of a tweener between tackle and guard. Ted McMillan's good, but he's not great. Abdul Carter is great. Your top 4 selection, you pick a great player. Abdul Carter goes to the Patriots at number 4. Now, number 5, they could go Ted McMillan here, which would be really interesting. Have the Twin Towers on the outside, Ted McMillan and Brian Thomas Jr. make that offense very formidable, right? New head coach Liam Cohen could, really want to get that offense humming, especially because Evan Ingram left. And Trevor Lawrence really liked throwing to the tight end. Ted McMillan can line up in the slot, kind of be that big body across the middle of the field. So that could make some sense there, guys. But Mason Graham almost makes too much sense to bypass. Mason Graham is a really talented player. He did it at the highest level. Put him next to Josh Hines-Allen, and that D-line is pretty damn scary, right? I'm going Mason Graham. I know it's the chalk, but it just makes the most sense to me. All right, Raiders, you're on the board. Now they have a choice between a bunch of really good players. Ted McMillan, Ashton Genty, Will Campbell. I really like Will Campbell, and they could go D-line as well. That could be interesting. But now that Mason Graham's gone, I don't think they go that route. I think Pete Carroll's going to want to establish the run. Give them Genty. All right, now, the Jets are on the board, right? And this makes things a little interesting, right? Because they have Olu Fashanu on the left side, right? I know Will Campbell played left tackle, but I'm sure he could play right tackle. And if not, you can plug him and play at guard. So that could be really interesting if the Jets draft Will Campbell, put him on the right side, Olu Fashanu on the left side, and then they got 2 bookend tackles as well. And if worse comes to worse, you got to bump him in the guard. Olu Fashanu is definitely a bigger frame, longer arm guy. He's the left tackle there. But Will Campbell could be really interesting, right? In the Jets, on this mock draft, Tyler Warren makes some sense. They could go Tet McMillan, but I don't know if they do that. I think they want to protect Justin Fields. I'm going Will Campbell. Changing it up a little bit, guys, here on the J All Day Sports Show. All right. Panthers are up at 8. They got to go defense. And Johnny Barron makes a lot of sense to me because he could play corner, he could play safety, he could play the nickel. He could be very valuable to the Panthers at number 8. That's a very interesting spot for him. You know, Malachi Starks would be like the general of that defense, but Johnny Barron, you know, he's so fast. What an unbelievable year he had. No touchdowns given up, 5 interceptions. You know, that's how you win games, by getting turnovers. I'm doing it. Johnny Barron goes to the Panthers at 8. Now, Saints fans, you're on the board. Tyler Warren makes a lot of sense here. They need some weapons on the offense desperately. I'm going Tyler Warren. Oh, they got Tet McMillan too. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. You know what? With the injury history of Chris Olave, with the concussions, they might need a number 1 wide receiver sooner rather than later. Tet McMillan goes to the Saints at 9. Bears fans, you're on the board. You know, Malachi Starks on the board would be, he could become the general of that defense, right? D-line could make some sense here. No one that I really, you know, Malachi Starks to the Bears could be very, very interesting. Yeah, I think it makes too much sense. Chad Campbell to the Bears, I would like that as well, you know? So I'm going to go Malachi Starks to the Bears at number 10. Get a running back in the second round. All right, now, 49ers fans, you're on the board. They're going to go offensive line here 100,000%. Josh Simmons, I think they bypass on him because of the injury history, but Kelvin Banks and Josh Connerly Jr. are very similar. You know, some scouts really like Connerly. You know, I don't know if he's strong enough, in my opinion. I like Kelvin Banks' like grit and play strength a little bit more. So you know what? I'm going to go Kelvin Banks. But he's been playing left tackle most of his career. So all of his career, right? They have Trent Williams there, right? Josh Connerly could make some sense too. He played all left tackle too, but you know what? I'm drafting Kelvin Banks. He's going to go to the right side and take over for Trent Williams when that time comes. Cowboys fans, you're on the board here. I think Mike Green makes the most sense. Mike Green and Micah Parsons, that's going to be hard to deal with, man. Mike Green killed it at the Senior Bowl. He didn't play in the game, but in the drills, he just like made everyone his bitch. 17 sacks. I mean, this dude's a monster. He's going to the Cowboys. All right, now, Dolphins fans, you're on the board. They need a safety desperately, but all the blue chip ones are pretty much gone. You know, D-line, Kenneth Grant could definitely make some sense here for the Dolphins. I really like him in this defense. Will Johnson, they definitely need cornerback help to Miami, and it makes the most sense. Yeah, even the trends have it. You know, Will Johnson, 6'2", 202, prototypical creative player on the outside. Will Johnson goes to the Dolphins. That's a dunk pick. Here's another dunk pick I'm not even going to think about. Tyler Warren. Shane Steichen needs a tight end desperately. Warren falls in their lap. Great for Shane Steichen and the Colts. Now, Falcons fans, you're on the board here. Luther Burden could make some sense as well. His draft stock's kind of fallen off a little bit. James Pierce Jr. just makes too much sense. Jahad Campbell, he could look great in Atlanta as well. You know, because he could take over the middle of that defense for sure and like get an edge later. Jahad Campbell goes to the Falcons and kind of screws up some teams' plans like the Buccaneers, who I thought really would want to get Jahad Campbell. Now, Cardinals fans, you're on the board. They need interior defensive line help. Kenneth Grant's on the board. He's being trended there already. He's got good quickness, active hands, quick counter moves. He's just a good interior defensive lineman. He goes to the Cardinals. All right. Now, Bengals fans, you're on the board here. They could go edge. A guy like Donovan Ezeraku could make some sense here. I don't know if he really fits that scheme, though, in my opinion. Walter Nolan to the Bengals makes a lot of sense. I think they need pressure from the inside to make this defense better, and Nolan gives you that. So the Bengals get Walter Nolan at 17. Now, Seattle Seahawks fans, you're on the board. They need to fix this freaking offensive line so bad. Gray Zabel, Swiss Army knife guy, played right tackle, left guard, played center, played left tackle. Zabel, find him a place to play, Seattle. All right, now, Buccaneers fans, you're on the board. This is where I think they take a flyer on Jalen Walker's athleticism. You know, this defense is great for a guy who just wants to pin his ear back and go get the passer. Jalen Walker goes to the Buccaneers at 19. Now, Broncos fans, Omarion Hampton's on the board. Dunk it! Here comes another dunk pick. All right, Steelers fans, you need a cornerback so bad. I know you brought in Darius Slay for a one-year deal, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter what your name is, but they need a quarterback more. Shedeur Sanders false stops with the Steelers at 21. Chargers get their guy, Colston Loveland, reuniting with Coach Harbaugh after they won a national title in Michigan. Easy pick. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, Packers fans, you're on the board now. Luther Burden could make some sense for the Packers. They need a true X wide receiver. I don't know if he fits that bill, 5'11", 208. More of a slot guy for sure. James Pierce Jr. to the Packers could make a lot of sense as well. They need some edge help. Desperately, right? And his athleticism is just so rare. Yeah, I'm going James Pierce Jr. I'm doing it. All right. Vikings fans, you're on the board here. D-back makes some sense. Running back, interior defensive line. You know, taking a look, some of these wide receivers are falling. Mykel Williams, a guy I really, really like. Played this year, hurt a lot. Very talented guy. I'm a big fan. Donovan Ezeraku, another guy I really, 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 really like. He could fit in that scheme for sure. You know, defensive back, I think they could use a big playmaking outside corner, day one type of guy. You know, a lot of people really, really like the cornerback from Kentucky, Maxwell Hairston, 4.28 40, fastest guy at the combine. He goes to the Vikings at 24. Now, Texans fans, you're on the board. You need a freaking offensive lineman so bad because you traded away Laramie Tunsil to the Commanders. Make it make sense to me. They're going to take a flyer on Josh Simmons here at 25. He's the best offensive tackle in this draft class when he's healthy. The tape is, he's very sticky, strong, physical at the point of attack. I like that. Now, the Rams are on the board here, right? Cornerback definitely in play for me. I think this is a spot for one of my favorite cornerbacks in this entire draft class, Savon Revel. 6'3", coming off an injury, 193. The dude is a freaking athletic freak. Torn ACL might push him into the second round, so I'm going to go Trey Amos instead. Those guys are pretty comparable in my opinion. So now the Ravens are on the board. This is a great Ravens pick. Donovan Ezeraku could be a Raven for sure. But they got great wide receivers on the freaking board, and they're not going to pass up on them. Luther Burden, Emeka Ibuka is on the board. 6'1", 205. This guy is just a consummate professional at 6'1", 205. Matthew Golden, another guy I really, really like. I just like Ibuka's size because he could play up in the slot and outside. Great locker room guy. Emeka Ibuka goes to the Ravens at 27. Now, Commanders, actually the Lions are up. My B, guys. All right, my eyes are going in my old age. Lions are up. Give me an edge defender for the Lions. Donovan Ezeraku to the Lions. I don't know if he fits the scheme, though. I'm not really sure if he fits the scheme. Mykel Williams definitely could fit the scheme. You know, 6'5", 265. We look at Ezeraku, 6'2", 247. You know, Mykel Williams is the pick. Pair him up with Aiden Hutchinson. Mykel Williams is going to be a better pro than he was in college. He dealt with a lot of injuries. I think it was a foot injury, if I'm not mistaken. I love that pick. Now, Commanders, you're on the board here. Edge defender, Donovan Ezeraku could be a monster. Could be a very interesting play there. Shamar Stewart is an athletic freaking freak show, man. 6'6", 290. Woo, baby. Baby, oh baby. Where do the Commanders go, guys? Cornerback, definitely a position of need as well, right? The Commanders definitely need, I'm just taking a look at some of my notes on the Commanders this offseason, right? So, oh man, they could go, cornerback could be a good spot for them. Could be a good spot for a corner, right? Savon Revel could be a huge impact corner. He's a day one guy if he doesn't get hurt, right? Landon Jackson on the board. He's a freak show as well. Really did really well at the combine. You know, TJ Sanders is on the board. They could use some D tackle help as well. Darius Alexander, man, he really impressed me. I like Derek Harmon too. And he can play all over the D line. He's just very, very versatile guy. A gap, B gap, over the tackle. You know what? I'm upgrading the D line for them. I think that's the way to go. I'm going to go Derek Harmon to the Commanders because he's such a versatile guy. Line him up anywhere. They're in a 3-4 scheme most of the time, but he could play anywhere on the D line. Now, Bills fans, you're on the board. I think this is a defense pick for sure. Cornerback definitely interests me. Donovan Ezeraku interests me as well. You know, but he's a little bit smaller, more of a 3-4 scheme guy. Shamar Stewart has Buffalo Bills and written all over him. I'm going Shamar Stewart to the Bills at 30 overall. Now, 31 overall. Kansas City Chiefs, man. With Luther Burden on the board there, that could make some sense. Matthew Golden, Nick Scorton to the Chiefs as well. Could definitely make some sense. Josh Connerly Jr., they need offensive line help so bad. I'm going Connerly Jr. They need the offensive line help now. Eagles get their pick. Donovan Ezeraku is still available the way the board fell, just the way it worked out. Donovan Ezeraku goes to the Bird Gang at 32. Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Cam Ward goes number 1. Cowboys get Mike Grant. The Raiders get Genty. Broncos get Amarion Hampton. Colston Loveland goes to the Chargers. Shedeur Sanders ends up in Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin. That's a great fit in my opinion. Derek Harmon to Washington. Connerly Jr. goes to the Chiefs at 31 overall. All right, guys, that's my round 1 mock draft for the 2025 draft. 2.5 weeks away, and we'll be there, guys. So I'm excited. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to do a live stream the entire day leading up to the NFL draft. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I appreciate you guys. Peace.